Exploring theology, doctrine, and all of the fascinating subjects in between, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, Dead Men Walking starts
now.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Dead Men Walking Podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing with a friend. Heck, thanks for commenting, too. We love the social media interaction that we get on all of our social media accounts, Dead Men Walking Podcast, except for Twitter, Real DMW Podcast. They didn't let us have that one. So make sure you're following, subscribing, checking it out. We do appreciate that. Wow, what do we got going on this week? Well, we got a lot of stuff going on. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. We're preparing for the Cross Politic Fight Laugh Feast conference, which we will be at October 11th through 14th. So if you're in Kentucky at the Creation Museum, come down and see us. We'll be live podcasting from that conference, reuniting with some old friends, making some new ones. Taking the camper down there with a buddy of mine. We saw that the hotels were sold out. So guess what? I got a campsite. We're going to do some fall camping, going to take it down. I'm in Michigan, southern Michigan. So it's only about 3.5, 4 hours for us. I've pulled the camper longer than that. So heck, if you're listening to this and you see us at the podcast booth and you want to come hang out at a campsite afterwards, we're going to have the fire going, the s'mores going, the Bible's open, the bourbon flowing, and maybe we'll light up a few cigars as well too. But we also have some exciting episodes coming up in the next few weeks. Obviously, we'll be covering the conference through some episodes. Chris Larson from Ligonier Ministries, president of Ligonier Ministries, going to be on the week after that. Look out for that episode on the 11th. But other than that, not a whole lot going on. I hope you guys are enjoying your fall here in Michigan. We're a four-season state, so we are just getting into fall. And then the last 2 days, it's been 89 degrees. So we're having that crazy relapse the 1st of October. But we're going to get into colors changing here. Hope you guys are enjoying fall wherever you're at, even if you're not in a four-season state. But we definitely are. But I want to get right into it. I don't want to talk too long. I met this gentleman in Tullahoma, Tennessee at the Shadows Conference that you guys listened to. I broke that up into a couple episodes. We had some interviews, and this gentleman just happened to meet him, started talking to him. He said, "I'm doing this new project. Would you mind if I kind of experimented with your channel on it?" I said, "Absolutely." It is Mr. Ken Powers, owner and creator of Let's Church. How are you, Ken?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So do you do a lot of podcasts or no? Is this kind of
this is my first podcast. This is I have the RE20 from Electro Voice, but that's for Zoom calls.
Hey, it's working good. You sound good over here, and I'm sure this will be painless. So new to podcasting, but not new to entrepreneurship and technical coding and all these things, because you've got a really cool product, which we're going to get into shortly. But first, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. I know I said we met down in Tullahoma. What was it, last February? But tell us your journey, maybe a little bit of your testimony or just some personal stuff about it, so we can get to know you here on the podcast.
Yeah. So hi, my name is Ken Powers. I'm a Christian husband, father, software engineer. You could say dead man walking, if I could borrow the name of the show here. Currently living and working in Massachusetts with my wife Laura and our daughter Verabella. And like Greg's been saying, I founded a 501c3 nonprofit organization called Let's Church, dedicated to providing free technology resources to churches and Christian ministries. So right now, what that looks like is a free streaming platform with no ads and fully searchable transcripts and some really cool features on the way.
Yeah. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to jump into what the idea of Let's Church was, or should we talk? Yeah, let's talk about the idea of it first, and we'll jump into some of the cool features that you have. So, what is Let's Church at the 30,000 foot view? What was the idea? And then has it morphed into something different from your original idea, or is it pretty close to what you think?
Sure. So, very early on, when Laura and I first got married, we had some ideas about a church technology platform. There were some ideas going around, things about websites, streaming, like just applying my technical skill set to churches, ministries in general.
Yeah.
And Laura is actually the one who came up with the name when she said, what about Let's Church? Like it literally just came to her, and I was like, there's no way that domain name is available. And when I
Yeah,
looked it
I
up,
wouldn't think it
yeah,
would be.
yeah. So
It's a great
yes,
name.
got letschurch.com, .net.org, let's.church, all of them. I got them immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't until a little while later I was working on another project for a while called Instant Bible,
Okay.
which is available at instant.bible. That's just like the idea there is just searching the Bible really quickly. But
Mm.
it came to be eventually I had a prototype of a media platform, a media processing pipeline that could take transcripts and make them fully searchable.
Mm.
And I was listening to some backlog episodes of The Dividing Line while I'm working on the code, and I heard James White say, man, could you imagine the Dividing Line archives with fully searchable transcripts? And here I am sitting in front of my code going like, I have
Challenge
fully searchable.
accepted.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm like, hey, man, I already have this. Um, and I ran that by Laura, and she said, he's going to be at a conference like an hour and a half away from here. And so went to the conference, showed him what I had. What I did is I pulled out the phone, searched for searchable transcripts, and pulled up the exact minute and second where he himself was saying, man, can you imagine the Divine Line archives of fully searchable transcripts? And yeah.
Yeah. So
So
that okay. So you had this idea to you're working on Instant Bible, search the Bible. So you're a software engineer, so you're always
yeah.
thinking probably things about searchability, algorithm, like efficiency, all those things. And maybe we even get into that a little bit after we do the demo on Let's Church too, because I'd be interested to know your take on some of this AI stuff as well, since you're in that space. But so you were always kind of thinking that way, like what's a way that I can efficiently get information or more efficiently search information for believers, like Bible or
Yeah.
Christian podcasts, things like that. Was that kind of the idea?
Yeah, precisely. And some like you might be thinking like, hey, I remember a time when someone said a thing, but I don't remember the video. Or
Oh,
you might be listening to a
yes.
podcast and someone references something previously. So I told you about this one with Dead Man Walking in particular. You had mentioned the concept of the rod of correction. Um,
Yeah.
but all you said was in a previous episode, we've talked about this. And so I went to Let's Church and I typed in rod of correction, and it wasn't in the title or description, but there it was in the transcript, and it pulled it right up exactly where you were talking about. And then one of the most encouraging pieces of feedback I received was actually at the Open Air Theology Conference where we met.
Mm-hmm.
Keith Foskey.
Yeah.
So I had been thinking of it from a like consumer perspective. Like, hey, it's going to help me consume media. But his immediate reaction was, I can use this in my counseling ministry. Right now, I
Oh,
tell
yeah.
people like, hey, go listen to my sermons from X number of months ago, and it might be around the 30-minute mark or something. But he's going, hey, now I can
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
exactly where I'm talking about.
Oh no, just from a pure resource perspective as well too. It's so funny because about a year and a half ago, no longer than that, 2.5 years ago, we were already 100 or so episodes in. And I was saying to people, oh my gosh, even that's why I had to say previous episode. You do this weekly, sometimes twice a week. You have all these live videos, you upload them, but then they just kind of get lost. And I just go, when did I say that? Have I covered that? Is that a thought I had, or did I talk about that? Right. And I've said on this podcast, not only the one you said, but many times, gosh, I wish I could remember. I don't have the time to go back through 200 hours worth of audio and video to find that spot. And then, a few months later, I'm at this conference and you're going, oh, hey, look what I'm doing. And I just thought it was absolutely amazing. What I want to do for those listening, we're going to talk you through it. But for those watching on YouTube right now, you're going to be able to see our screen share. I want to show you what's going on here because it's pretty amazing. So I'm going to share this tab. I'm at Let's Church right now. Can you see that, Ken?
Yeah.
Because if you're seeing this tab, then everyone else would be seeing it on the video. So for instance, I'm on, I can go up here to Let's Church. Let's go back to the main page there. Let's Church. Let's.church. If I go to channels, let's say, we got some friends on there. We got AD. buddy of mine, Alpha and Omega Ministries, obviously, both friend of ours, Dr. James White. So we go down here to Dead Men Walking, right? Now let's say, and look at all the YouTube videos that we have come right up. I'm going to type in something like camping and say, okay, when did I ever say or mention camping? Well, look at one of the more recent videos that came up, Dr. James White, the complete camping episode, comes up under the media file. And I think, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, because that is in the title or the byline, correct?
Yeah, that's in either the title or the description. Yeah.
Right, title
And
or
you see
description.
it right there in the title.
And I'm saying, okay, that has an episode with camping, but I want to know when I even use that word. Well, if I click over here on the left-hand side, transcripts, well, lo and behold, would you look at this? Not only do I have a list of every time the word camping was used, because remember, Let's Church transcribes all of the audio and video episodes, right? So let's say I want to go down here and I just want to say, what's up with okay, well, third one down. We'll just pick one at random. Deadman Walking Podcast. What's up with Isaiah chapter 6? Those angels are crazy, yo, right? And then down below it, it says, oh, at 411, and she goes, if we go camping, because I need my heat, right? So it's transcribing it. If I click on that 411 there, which I found amazing,
Okay.
it comes up right where I'm talking about.
She's my little prima donna.
And if you see on the right, it's transcribing it and it's highlighted where I say the word camping. So it's highlighting where I say the word so I can see it in text. And then also it's bringing me right to that spot on the video where I said that word, which I just think is absolutely amazing just for resources. So here, let me stop sharing this for a little bit. Ken, what gave you that idea to be able to do that? Was that just something like, hey, we're living in a time where AI can be utilized like that, and I think this would be beneficial? Or was it something you kind of had to add to that? Like, what's the idea behind that?
Yeah, well, so like I said, just like really just being able to recall something. Like there are so many times I'll be talking with Laura and be like, oh, who said that and when? But not actually be able to find a video, because there's a lot of helpful content out there.
Yeah.
You know, when I was talking with James Way, he said we have over 2,000 episodes of The Dividing Line, but they're completely inaccessible because they're not indexed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you think this compares to stuff that's out there right now? Is this because I don't get really this accurate of a search when I'm searching YouTube? I know YouTube will transcribe some stuff. I know sometimes on a Google search, it will take me to close to the subject that I typed in, right? Like, how do I screen record in StreamYard? And it might take me 3 minutes into a video, but it's still not down to the word, to where this is transcribing every single word, searching the word, and then taking you to it when you type it in. So is there anything else out there that is comparable to this, or is this kind of ahead of the curve in the way of search?
I would say it's probably on the leading edge. And I say that because when I had first started working on this project, I was using a third-party company for actually making these transcripts. But in the process of developing this, OpenAI, makers of ChatGPT, released a free transcribing model that provided unprecedented accuracy in transcriptions. And so that's what I'm using. It's called OpenAI Whisper. And I'm running that on my own hardware. And they released it at just the right time, because I did the calculation recently for all the content that's on Let's Church right now. If I were to run that through the third party I was using before, who are very fairly priced, I'll say that, I'd be looking at an $8,000 bill.
Wow.
As opposed to OpenAI comes along and releases this model at, frankly, just the right time to launch this thing. And I was able to transcribe everything. Right. So right now
we call that the providence of God.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then combine that with some other advancements in bandwidth pricing and whatnot. It really is a providentially perfect time to launch this platform. Right now there is just over, as of a few days ago, 500 days of transcribed content on Let's Church.
Wow. So, what are the overall applications for this then? We talked about resources. We talked about, like you said, personal search. I've used it multiple times to go, what did I talk about on this subject? Or I've looked at like James White stuff. Obviously, if we want to get into textual criticism or
Yeah.
reform theology or any of that stuff, it's like, oh, I want to know when he was talking about this. So that's good. So when you look into the future for Let's Church, what do you think are the applications? Like, who are you going for? Are you just right now? Are you still in that phase where you're looking for people to add content, or are you eventually going to go, we want to offer this to churches, we want to offer this to ministries? Like, what's the plan there? Have you
Yeah.
thought about that at all?
Well, yeah. So right now, I'm trying to onboard primarily churches and other ministries as well. So, like I'm looking to ramp this up rather quickly. I think it's going to be a very useful tool for even when people are taken out of context, and you'll hear someone say, "Hey, such and somebody said this, that, or the other thing," but then you'll be
Mhm.
able to go back in context and see exactly what they were saying and why they were saying it, and what passage of scripture they were quoting.
Yeah.
um yeah.
No, that yeah, no, that's so good. That takes me kind of to my next point, which you already kind of touched on, which was this all takes money. I mean,
Yes.
you're doing this, you're doing this, it takes a lot of labor and a lot of money. I would start to think that just the storage fees or, server fees and things to be able to host all this video, much of it now in HD, very memory hungry, size wise. So what are you doing there? You said it's a nonprofit. Do
Yeah.
you have partnerships, investments? Are you selling some, like, what's your structure
Yeah.
there? Because I truly believe we need to support something like this. My listeners, everyone else who sees this, you guys, this is how we build things, and we build things better than what the world is building. And Ken's doing that, and he's doing it for the glory of God, and it's an awesome thing. So, like, how does this get paid for? I guess is what I'm saying.
Sure. Yeah. So there is a donation page on Let's Church where you can donate, and I have a handful of donations right now. It's mostly bootstrapped.
Mm,
And Lord willing, it will be self-sustainable through donations one day. The way I'm really structuring this is through a concept known as the Dorian principle, which is
okay.
Dorian is the Koine Greek word for co-labor. And I mean, the ministry financing is an entire podcast in and of itself. I'd love to get you connected with Conley Owens. He wrote the book called The Dorian Principle, just really talking about how should we fund ministries. Should we be selling stuff, or should we be co-laboring in the Lord together and trusting that God will provide? So that's really what I'm doing is, I'm building it. I'm walking out in faith and trusting that people will find it useful enough to want to donate and make the platform self-sustainable without having to go into ads or selling content behind a paywall or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay, wait.
Something
I'm
that I
going to share
will
this.
have in
Oh,
the
go ahead.
near term future, I am planning on having a financial transparency page. I'll actually break down the server costs, storage costs, and all of that stuff, so that when people donate, they will have like a very clear idea of exactly what they're paying into.
Yeah. I'm going to share this one more time, and we're going to make sure we support you and make sure that people know where they can donate at. How do you spell the Dorian principle? Because I believe I had him on the podcast.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Dorean.
Uh, Now, if I'm
Yeah, no, it might be right there, right under media. So
Conley
look at
Owens, the
that.
Dorian principle,
I didn't even know that, but yeah, no,
is it?
Conley's been a really good friend. He's
So look at that.
yeah.
Let's Church solves it again. I'm sitting here going, I know that sounds familiar, and I think I know that name. And I
Mhm.
go, if there's only a way I could find out really quick if he'd been on the podcast, so I can tell him. And I go, well, we're sitting here with the guy from Let's Church.
Yeah.
Let's use Let's Church.
Now, so
Yeah. So
I will say, so the way the
that's
model
awesome.
the way the model transcribes Dorian, I'm gonna have to fix this, but it spells it Dorian. So that
Okay.
is if you search for Dorian that way, then it'll probably pull up in the transcripts.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, got to implement typo tolerant searching. But
Yeah, I mean, I gotta imagine with this type of stuff too, and I'm sure you go through it all the time as a software engineer. There's always just tweaks and things that you're always fixing and changing,
yeah,
and it's a never-ending
always.
job, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there you go, right there. So even something you were talking about, it was very beneficial to search that, and that's how bad my memory is. It was only a year and a half ago, and I'm going, I think I had him on. Uh, it's so bad. I when I first started this, I said I'm going to remember every name and everything we promote and every person. And then you get 4 years into it, and a couple hundred 300 episodes later, and you're like, I think I had that person on. Yeah, we talked for an hour, so that was good. But I'm going to make sure you're linked up here too. Your donate page is linked up because, guys, if you're listening right now, you got to support what Ken's doing. You got to support guys like this. Not only is it because I'm extremely flattered and honored to be one of the first kind of people that he's brought onto that to be able to search that content, but it's a huge, huge resource. I felt like I just went Trump right there. Huge, it's a huge resource for believers. It really is. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that we need to build things that are Christian based, that are Christian in principle and moral and biblical. And I think this is one of those things. So we'll make sure we get that all linked up. But so let's church. Let's dot church, guys. Go check it out. Go click on it. Search the videos. You're gonna love it. With that being said, I wanted to shift for the final few minutes we have here. We've got a software engineer. We got a self-proclaimed. Can I call you a techie nerd? Is that is
Oh,
that
yeah,
derogatory,
no,
or I
no,
say that
no,
with honor?
um,
I'm
my,
just kidding. Yeah. So I
I
want
got
to
my
talk about
starts
this a
very
little bit.
early on. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm always a little envious because my dad owned a computer wholesale business in the 80s and 90s. When I growing up, I was always around computers, but I knew just enough to get me in trouble, but not enough to fix anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
Totally. Yeah.
we had some really good tech guys that I was best friends with, so I kind of understand that world a little bit. But I want to talk about AI a little bit because you're utilizing AI. You're a believer. There's this
Yeah.
big thing going on right now with AI. Like, dude, is it something we should embrace as believers, as Christians? Is it something we reject? Like, what are your thoughts on it? I think I know what you're going to say, and I think we're going to
Sure.
agree on it. But when we look at AI technology, because I had a gentleman on too talking about like who's writing the moral landscape for the AI, like who's writing, like where's the AI's worldview coming from? I think it's more of a battle for that than it is just for the technology in and of itself. But what are your thoughts on AI in like a nutshell?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so back in worldview issues aside and who's training the AI aside, if we just like back up and take a look at what AI is, it's a tool like any other. And a tool like any other can be used for nefarious purposes or it can be
Hmm,
used for God glorifying purposes.
there you go.
So the thing that really has people freaked out about AI right now is like you go to ChatGPT and it feels like you're talking to a person, perhaps a very verbose person. But
Hmm.
what you have to remember is that you're talking to a mathematical model that predicts the next word in a sentence.
Yeah.
And that's all it really is. So like I've always said AI, heavy emphasis on the A, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Artificial. Yeah.
artificial. So
Yeah. So you take the stance that I do as well too, that these things are a tool. I would argue they fall into, any of these kind of sharp objects, I guess you would say, that the Lord allows us to play with and says treat correctly and with respect and in a biblical manner. From a health aspect, you'd put like a tobacco or alcohol into that category. Don't abuse it. And there's different doctrines for different people on whether to abstain completely or not. I would say, weapons and guns are another one of those things to where self-defense is a good thing, but obviously it's a tool that a gun can be used for nefarious reasons. I look at AI in that same bucket of technology, just like the internet in general, right? There's a lot of horrible things on the internet, but there's a lot of God glorifying things on the internet too. So it's how we use that tool. So I look at AI that same way as well. The only thing I'm kind of worried about is when we kind of uh, when companies or secular companies or non-believers are kind of writing, and I might be saying this technically incorrect, so you correct me if I'm wrong. But if you are a lot of stuff now, we're in this phase where we're calling it AI, and it's really just pre-written code that's responding to certain things. and it's not truly artificial intelligence in the way that we are dreaming of it 20 years from now, to where it can actually kind of learn on its own. And we've already seen this in algorithm, right? Like, uh, the way you search for something in Google can be put at a certain level or not shown at all,
Mhm.
depending on who's writing that algorithm. And I'm afraid, one, we're referring to things that are AI and they're really just still algorithms. But two, when AI gets to a point to where it has to make moral decisions, my worry is more of, where is that moral foundation coming from? Or where is it all mathematical? Is it all just coding? But if it's truly artificial intelligence, it's learning, right? It's kind of learning from its own experiences, I guess you would say. Like,
Yeah.
am I explaining it
Well,
like
yeah, I guess like what AI is not a thing. It's a collection of technologies, right? So if we're talking about
okay,
ChatGPT, we're talking about what's called a large language model. And a large language model's only job is to predict the next word in a sentence or in a body of text. So when you start talking about things like moral decisions, there's no moral decision happening. It's just generating words. Um,
right?
there's there's no real decisions happening at all. When you start talking about plugging different systems into each other, then you start to get into that territory of like, okay, now like decisions are being made if else. But like
Yeah.
like I said, the
I
code right
I
now
guess I'm
that's not actually making decisions. That's it feels like you're talking to a person, but you're talking to a mathematical model.
so yeah, I'm kind of thinking like my idea when I think of AI too is, let's say I have like self-driving cars, right? This
Mhm.
was a big kind of argument we had a couple years ago. And you have some type of algorithm or AI model or whatever it is in that software that calculates probability of safety or death from the passenger in a crash, or probability to avoid a crash, whatever it is. Let's say your car is going out of control. The AI or the algorithm makes an instant calculation, and you can either hit an old grandma pushing a stroller or a young woman to the right or the left. That's the only two choices, and the probability of survival of the passenger is the exact same. Like, what is
Right.
making a choice? Because like when you're in a car, you make splits. They've done this with psychology. You make split
Mhm.
decisions on moral choices all the time, on which way you don't even do it subconsciously, which way I'm going to turn to avoid this or not hit that. I'm just wondering, is there going to be some type of in AI or algorithms that you program into software um, that makes those decisions? Oh yeah, we'd rather hit the 85-year-old grandma. She lived a longer life.
Yeah.
Take her out first instead of the young woman on the right. Like, I know these seem like crazy, uh,
It,
kind of
it,
situations, but it could happen, and they
yeah.
speak to
No,
something much larger. So, what are your thoughts when you're looking at that in AI?
it totally could happen. And I mean, traditionally speaking, just remembering back to my AI classes in university, the the AI, like I'm going to be using some personifying adjectives here, even though it is completely artificial. But like it is, it is going to
Okay,
be interested in defending itself. So whatever provides the best outcome for itself. So in this case, I guess the car or the software in the car. But of course, it's us who defines what good for
what's
the
important?
AI
Yeah,
is, right?
that's what I
So
mean. Yeah, so yeah, and those are I like that. I just you were going to come on and talk about Let's Church, and then I just throw hey, answer the problems of AI for us, Ken, and just throw it in your lap. So I think
yeah,
for not knowing that question and not knowing that, I was just going to
sure, yeah.
ask you to explain all of AI and all of its problems to us. Pretty good answer. But so yeah, let's wrap this up. We're getting close to our half hour mark, and or maybe we're over that, and we want to. I mean, I wanted to have you on, one, because I just think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. You're a brother in the Lord. You're building something. I own my own business. It sounds like you're doing your entrepreneurial thing. We got to support each other, especially if it's a great idea. And it's always a great idea to me when I'm sitting around, kind of like James White, and going, I wish there was something that fixed this problem. And then I
Mhm.
run into you and you go, oh, I've thought of that and I've fixed it. Not only fixed it, but made it better, to where now it's efficient. Your search is very quick. It's accurate. And I've always said those who, it used to be in the early to mid 2000s, whoever had data was king. That's still true. Now, whoever can search data accurately and efficiently is going to be the new king. Is like, yeah, we have the data, but now how do I use it, search it? You know what I mean? Dissect it. You can have all these mounds of data, but if you can't access it quickly, efficiently, and accurately, well, then you're in trouble. Let's Not Church, go check it out, guys, does that. And it's doing it mainly for Christian content, which is exciting because we get to say, we've got Let's Church. What do you guys have over there in your secular pagan world? Not Let's Church. We have that. So
You have five non-skippable ads coming up before your YouTube video just around the corner.
oh, that's the most beautiful thing as well too. You go to this site right now, and by the grace of God, if you can get financing and donations and people can donate, let's keep it ad free. Isn't it a beautiful thing when you're on a website and it's just completely ad free? I mean, you can't even go to a mainstream news site. You've got pop-ups and you've got, banners, and it's just all ads, and we're just bombarded. It's just such a beautiful site to go there. It looks beautiful. It works well. I'm very excited about what you've done on that site, Ken, and I'm a big supporter. And anyone who's listening needs to go check out Let's Church. So let's give you the final word on the episode, though, Ken. So take us home. What do you want to leave with the listeners about either Let's Church or just in general?
Yeah, well, I'll say that this is only just the beginning for Let's Church. There's a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon. Additional search tools, better organization, and church search as well. So if you're looking for a church, you'll be able to not only look for the churches, but also look for everything that they've been preaching, and be able to actually search their transcripts as well. Like I said earlier, financial transparency, and yeah.
Slow clap for you. Do you know how many times I've went to a church website and their statement of faith is kind of shrouded in vagueness? Their
Yeah.
beliefs are like, I'm not really sure. And then they have like 200 episodes of their live streams, and I go, oh my gosh, I don't have time to sit here and listen to 20 hours worth of someone preaching to find out where they stand theologically or what they're. So now you're saying you could, even if the church has the video or the audio up, you're going to be able to basically search that down to the transcript and go, okay, where do they stand on baptism? Where do they stand on the Trinity? Where do they, right?
Yeah.
Now
Where you
I'm
stand on
thinking of it
grape
as,
juice. Yeah.
where do you stand on grape juice? Now, my brain, I'm thinking of it theologically, but I'm saying also for someone who's searching for a church and wants to know those things, or, I mean, that's going to be cool too, when you actually are able to have that on there. And I would think, just thinking outside the box here, maybe not outside the box, maybe you already thought of this, is, that could be into the church's budget as well, to be able to be part of Let's Church when you're driving traffic there, for new members to be able to search. That's something where I think churches would want to donate or have a small monthly subscription to be able to be on a searchable site like Let's Church. And there's tens of thousands of churches out there that, might want to do that. So, I think you have a lot of different revenue streams here as well too, which I'm excited about. As long
Yeah.
as we, think outside the box. I don't ever want the day to be, well, it's a great idea, it was beneficial to everyone, just didn't have the money to keep the doors open or couldn't grow it. Because I think this is so needed in search that, like I said, anyone listening, make sure you go to Let's Church, play around with it, check it out. And if you're so inclined, donate. I mean, heck, we go spend $5 on a coffee at Starbucks. Oh, I don't, but many people do, right? Or whatever dumb thing. Heck, a value meal at McDonald's is going to cost you $10 now, and it's horrible food. Take that $10, send it to him each month. I'm sure every little bit helps, right?
Yeah. Well, and your donations are tax deductible. So,
$10
yeah.
a month, give him
Yeah.
$5,000. Write that sucker off,
There
man.
you go. Yeah. Well, you got to get
Get
past
yourself into the
the
next lower
standard
tax
deduction.
bracket.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's true.
Um,
That's true.
I,
Yeah. Awesome, man.
oh man, no, I just had a thought. Right. No. Oh no, it escaped me again.
That's good. Hey, this
Wait.
is one of those fun episodes where
Oh
I
wait,
get.
no, no.
Do you remember?
Okay,
Okay.
no, yeah, I have it now. This is actually important. So, because I want Let's Church not only to be a platform where you go to support Let's Church itself for the sake of Let's Church, I am looking to build features where you will be able to support the ministries that are on Let's Church itself. So I've been
Nice.
thinking about passive, sort of like passive streams. Like, say you set a budget of $100 a month, and let's say you give 10% of that to Let's Church, and then the rest of it gets split to the ministries, each ministry according to how much you watch them, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh, that's a really good idea.
yeah, I'm thinking that was one of my original ideas, is to be able to do that. So I don't, like I was saying, not just for the sake of supporting Let's Church, but for the sake of supporting everyone who's on the platform as well.
Yeah. No, that's so good. All right, let's wrap this up. Ken, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. First time on a podcast. You absolutely did great.
Thank you.
I loved it. Good information. We're big fans of Let's Church at Dead Men Walking Podcast. I know I keep saying it, but I want to get it in listeners' heads, watchers' heads. Go over there, check it out. Let's.church is what it took me to. Is that still, I know you got a
Yep.
million domains, but everything goes
Yeah.
there. Let's.church, right?
Let's.church, let'schurch.tv, .com, .net, .org. If
He's got
anyone
'em
is
all.
interested in getting your church on there, you can feel free to reach out to me at ken@let's.church. And yeah.
Cool. We're going to post all your information. So when the podcast goes live, people can just click on it, email you, get a hold of you. Any social medias that you want to throw out there? If you're on social media anywhere, if people want to follow?
Yeah, we're on Facebook. Just look for Let's Church. We're also on Twitter at Let's_Church. I guess similar to your situation, Let's Church was taken in 2015 or something with 0 posts and an egg emoji. But
It's a bot. Bot.
I said Twitter. It's X.
Oh, that's true. I said Twitter earlier too. I'm still getting in the hang of saying Twitter /X, whatever it is. But all right, cool. We'll put all those socials up too so people can follow. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of Dead Men Walking Podcast. There you have it. Another believer building something cool in the tech space, taking off, people being added onto it, getting all kinds of searches. I love doing episodes like this where we've got guys in a space like that are doing things that are kind of unheard of for us believers, and we need to go support them. So make sure you check out all the links below in this episode and give us a comment. Tell us your experience when you went to let'schurch.com, or I'm sorry, let's.church, and checked it out and saw how cool it is to play around with the transcripts and things like that. Guys, we love you so much. We thank you for listening to the show. As always, remember, the chief end of man is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. God bless. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Dead Men Walking Podcast for full video podcast episodes and clips, or email us at deadmenwalkingpodcast@gmail.com.